Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it out. Tonight, we gonna let it out. Tonight, we gonna let it out. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it out. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it out. Tonight, we gonna let it out. Tonight, we gonna let it out. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it out.
Hey guys, how are we doing tonight? Hopefully you guys are having a great start to your work week. So happy Monday to you all. But welcome into tonight's live. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Hopefully you guys are having an awesome day. But if you are new to the channel, my name is Tanya, or you could call me TitaniumBuilt. Either or works. But welcome to the channel if you're new. And if you're not new and you're coming back for another live, thank you for joining me. I do appreciate you guys coming back each and every night for my lives. We are here nightly at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you are into true crime and that's something that you enjoy, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and yeah, that's all I ask. And hit the like button if you don't mind. So I appreciate it. Hey, Ladybug. Hey, Mary Beth. Number one on the like, and then I'll be back. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Willows. Good to see ya. Oh, well, I hope that you start to feel better. I know what that's like, not feeling good. I have to actually reschedule one of my appointments, and I really shouldn't, but I have to. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Tony. They're supposed to do some sort of imaging and stuff, but we'll have to do it like next month maybe. Hey, Michael, when we're in a better place. Hey, Catherine. Welcome in. Hey, Aries. The way to discover the limits of possible is to go beyond them into the impossible. Well, look at that. Could be kind of like Katy Perry in space today for 11 minutes. Very weird. Very weird. That whole space trip was 11 minutes today. I could probably do that. No, I couldn't. I could never. Hey, Catherine. Good to see ya. Do you think you guys could do that? Do you think you could go up if it was paid for, right? If it was paid for, before we get started, would you go to space if it was all paid for? All The ride's free. Would you go if it was 11 minutes? So you basically go up, you bust through the Earth's, atmosphere, and you are in space, however it works, you're in space, you cruise into space for about, I don't know how long you're in space because you're coming right back down to Earth, but it's 11 minutes. Thank you, Aries. I appreciate that. I'm loving the blue myself lately, and I'm used to not be a big fan of the color blue. Now I'm starting to love it. Hey, Tony. I don't know if I said hey to you. Hey, Ange, welcome in. You heard from Cheryl last night? Oh, wonder why. She knew we were talking about her. Hey, hey, Wizard Wolf. Well, if she's looking for true crime, she's looking in the wrong spot over there. I'm just saying. You're eating Peeps candy? You love Peeps, though, Mary Beth. I think you're the only person in the world that loves Peeps. Yeah, Gail King, too. Yeah, she looked awfully worried before she was heading up there. She looked like she was regretting, like she looked a little scared. She looked a little scared. Jody said it depends. I don't think no motion sickness would do it. Oh, yeah. Catherine, me too. I can't even get on it. I know that Aries could, because he could do the roller coasters and all that stuff. I can't do roller coasters even. I can't even do those. But, she is the first person, I guess she could say she's the first pop star in space. Hey, Jody, by the way. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Severe weather outbreak. Oh, just keep that weather somewhere else. I don't like it. Okay, Wizard Walt. My aunt used to say that she would only eat Peeps, but they had to be stale. And I said that to Vincent the other day, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds even worse than regular Peeps." Oh, thank you, Mary Beth. I appreciate that. You guys are so kind. So we're going to talk about Bryan Kohberger this evening, and we're going to go over some stuff related to his arrest. And I have a new video to show you guys too at the end. It just actually came out. It's the podcast video that we've been, or I don't know why it says podcast because it's a video, but it's a video from the Fox Channel 13 in Seattle. They've been doing Bryan Kohberger, like different episodes, and this is episode 3. And we were going over, there was like these evidence ones too, but they stopped putting those ones out. But we do have this one, and it's like 20 some minutes long, so it's pretty long. But I wanted to go over his arrest and all that good stuff. So we're just going to continue our coverage of Idaho 4. Try putting a Peep in the microwave. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Would it explode? Would the Peep explode? So let me get my stuff up here for us. Actually, before I pull that up, I'll wait. So Bryan Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Chestnut Hills Township, Monroe County, Pennsylvania. And that was on December 30th of 2022. And he was arrested in connection with the 4 homicides at 1122 King Road in Idaho. So the 4 students from the University of Idaho. So here's a breakdown of like his arrest. And I made this like really fast on my Google Docs. So let's go to the top. So the location and timing. So we're just going to go through this, and then I'm going to show you some pictures of Bryan after his arrest, and then we'll go from there. But the location and timing. So the arrest took place on December 30th, 2022. The arrest took place at the Kohberger family home in Indian Hill Mountain Lake Estates in Chestnut Hill Township. The arrest was executed in the early morning hours around 1:30 a.m. The executing authorities were, the arrest was carried out by members of the Pennsylvania State Police, specifically Troop and the Special Emergency Response Team. So these were the people that were, like boots on the ground, if you will. They were assisting the City of Moscow, Idaho Police Department, the Idaho State Police, and the FBI. And the circumstances of the arrest: Bryan was arrested on a fugitive from justice warrant issued in Idaho. His defense team has described the scene of the arrest as chaotic, claiming law enforcement shattered a sliding glass door to the home and held the entire family at gunpoint. Post-arrest, Kohberger was arraigned before Magistrate District Judge Michael Mouth He was then reprimanded to the Monroe County Correctional Facility pending extradition to Idaho, which we watched that. Kohberger later waived his right to an extradition hearing and was extradited to Idaho. We watched that unfold when they took him in the plane, and we watched the plane ride there. It was very interesting at the time. It would be really interesting to go back and watch that now, actually. Evidence and surveillance leading to the arrest. So DNA, a significant piece of evidence was DNA found on a knife sheath discovered at the crime scene in Idaho, which was later linked to Kohberger's DNA through genetic genealogy. The trash DNA, the investigators obtained DNA from trash outside the Kohberger family home in Pennsylvania, which was also matched to the suspect DNA. Surveillance, law enforcement conducted surveillance at the Kohberger home prior to the arrest. And we went over this in the last few lives that we went over talking about Kohberger. Snipers observed activity inside the home, including Kohberger handling plastic bags, sorting trash while wearing rubbered gloves. They also noticed a vehicle being unlocked and locked in the garage. This activity raised concerns with authorities, suggesting potential evidence tampering. And the arrest in Pennsylvania culminated a weeks-long investigation that spanned multiple states. So they were pretty much following him from the get-go. So then we got a mugshot of Bryan. Let me see. That's the same one. Okay. We got him in this one here in the turtle outfit. This is what they put, inmates in so that they can't commit S-word. There's no way to, it's just a heavy garment that they put on you. It's like weighted, and you don't get blankets. You don't get shoes with shoestrings. You don't get like sheets, blankets, anything like that. Pillowcase, pillow. You pretty much just get what he's wearing, and then he's in a cell, and it's like stripped down, pretty much bare of anything. So I mean, he's been living pretty rough. I will say that. So if he's not guilty, that's a shame. But I think that they've got the right person here. Latah County sheriffs then, picked Bryan up, or they flew Bryan over, but they were there to get him. So the Latah County Sheriff's Office put this image out of Bryan when he got there, which is weird to me. It's always weird when I look at this because I've never seen a mugshot of someone sitting down. They've always been standing up. I've always thought that anyway. Has there been anyone? Can you guys think of anybody that was sitting down? I don't know. Hey, Lord Mama, welcome in. Hey, Jet Set J. Oh, I like those too. Hey, PKC. Hey, welcome in, everybody. Hey, Lenora. I was on the other page, so hey, Garrett, I see Garrett there. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Garrett. That's very sweet. See, I knew the blue shirt. I like the blue shirt. Vincent was like, "You're going to wear the blue shirt tonight?" I don't know why he said that. I said, "Why did I wear blue last night?" He's like, "I don't know." I was like, "Me neither." So he had me like thinking. I did. But yeah, I don't know why they have them sitting down, because they usually have them standing up, and they usually will have their height, I thought, and weight, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just dreaming. But let's look at Bryan Kohberger. Okay, so let's look at the eyebrows, kind of. This one, the first one, kind of pretty bushy, I would say. I think it's his brow, his bone there, just makes them very prominent. And then this is his newest one. So he got moved, from the Latah County jail down to Ada County. And this is his newest mugshot. Guess he's getting a little scrappy, but his eyebrows do not look as prominent. I mean, they still do, but they don't. I don't know. They just don't look like there's as many. My dog's making weird noises back here. I only got the one dog tonight. The other one escaped. She escaped me. I was trying to hang out with her. Just came in from watching the lit. Oh, there's an update? Oh, I didn't know there was an update. Montage. Oh. Well, I'm just going to put his name in just so I can, go over there later and look. Wow, I didn't know. Hey, Citizen Sleuth. Probably trimmed his brows. But I wonder what he used to trim them. Like, I wonder if he's cutting them with scissors. That's the only thing I could think of. Because he can't shave them because there would be prickly marks. Do you know what I mean? Like, we would be able to see where he shaved. Like, we'd be like, oh, you shaved him. There's no tweezers in jail. So it's like, is he pulling them out? I mean, he could. I don't know. The thought of that hurts my head, but and my eyebrows. But I definitely think he could be cutting them somehow. And because I'm wondering who's giving them haircuts. I know in Ada, like I was telling you guys last night, Ada County has their own like barber guy. Like normally, like one of the guys that whoever is in jail and they give the job to, like that can cut hair is usually the person that cuts hair. They usually don't have like a barber. It's just like somebody that's in the jail with them. So I don't know if they would allow another inmate near Bryan Kohberger, even just to cut his hair, especially because sharp instruments. But I don't know. And Taylor's trimming them. She could be. I wonder if they're getting like, they get their like, I guess they would get their time alone, wouldn't they? Like attorney-client privilege. Yeah, unless the barber does it for the prisoners. Maybe he would have one. We'll look into that. I need to know. I need answers. I have questions. I have lots of questions. I'm just curious. I wonder if it would come out like a trial or something. But I don't think he would have to be caught. I just don't know. Or maybe his face was like more sunken in those other pictures because he was on the rugs, that his eyebrows just looked way more prominent then. I don't know. And maybe he hasn't been doing anything to them other than just getting healthier off of the jail food that they're giving him. Because you'd be amazed. Some people look a lot better on the inside than they do on the outside. But I found this whenever I was looking up articles around the time that, Bryan got arrested. And this was from the date that he got arrested. So it's the state police arrest suspect in Idaho student homicides. And it says Harrisburg, PA, the Pennsylvania State Police today assisted the City of Moscow, Idaho Police Department, Idaho State Police, and the FBI in the apprehension of a suspect in the homicides of 4 University of Idaho students that occurred November 13th. Bryan C. Kohberger, 28, was arrested on a fugitive from justice warrant early this morning by members of Troop N and the Special Emergency Response Team at a home in Chestnut Hill Township, Monroe County. Kohberger was arraigned before an on-call magistratal district judge, Michael Mouth, and reprimanded to Monroe County Correctional Facility pending extradition to Idaho. The Pennsylvania State Police is referring all questions regarding this matter to the City of Moscow Police Department and puts their number. Don't call us, call Moscow. I thought that was kind of funny. Let's see. Man, we're going through this pretty quick, which is good. Okay. This is neighbor shocked 28-year-old student charged in Idaho killing. So this is just a short clip of people reacting to the news. And I'm going to play this. And if you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button for me. It really goes a long way. I really appreciate it too. Okay.
A suspect has been arrested in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
We have team coverage for you, starting with Chris O'Connell in Pennsylvania, where that arrest was made.
28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger, charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. He is a resident of Washington, but spent time with his family here in the Pocono Mountains in a community about 65 miles outside of Philadelphia. Here is what we know. A SWAT team with the local police department, assisted by the FBI rolled up to this gated community in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, and took Kohberger into custody early this morning without
Rolled
incident.
up.
He was charged
They said they rolled up. Like, I don't know why that made me laugh, but it did.
with the November 12th slaying of 4 University of Idaho students. They, of course, were found stabbed to death in their rental home near campus. It is a case with more of a mystery than anything else, since few details have been released. Well, today, officials in Idaho say they believe Kohberger, with ties to northeastern Pennsylvania, was the sole suspect.
These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process.
A little more now on Kohberger. He was a resident of Pullman, Washington, a PhD student at Washington State University, and got his criminal justice degree from DeSales University back in June. He's currently being held in the county jail, awaiting extradition back to Idaho. In Monroe County, Pennsylvania, Chris O'Connell, Fox News.
The arrest in the Idaho murders has stretched from coast to coast.
The suspect arrested overnight in Pennsylvania, and police in Washington state have spent the day combing through his apartment, which is right near Washington State University.
And that's where Jennifer Dowling from our Fox Seattle station is tonight. Jennifer, thanks for joining us. What have you seen there?
Well, we've seen investigators going in and out of the apartment behind me all day and night. There is some tape still up. People are not allowed to go into that section of the complex. And we've been told by a neighbor that that is where Bryan Kohberger lives. That neighbor was extremely surprised that he was tied to those 2 murders. And the community is just reeling tonight.
I can imagine there's a lot of reaction in that area.
I mean, how surprised can you be if you've only known the guy for, you know, a couple months? I don't know. I mean, I would be like, that's surprising, but I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I'm totally shocked. Couldn't be him. Like, I don't know. I just think that he wasn't even really there. I mean, well, it was 6 weeks after, so let's think 6 weeks. I don't know, but he did live there for a little while, but I don't know. I think that the guy I think that they're talking to is the guy that I think his wife complained. Let me see if it's the same one.
As this,
because remember in the apartment downstairs, I think that one guy talks to them, and it's his wife that was the one complaining.
Murder case has really shocked the nation, and there's been a lot of fear in that area. Jennifer, can you talk about some of the reaction that you've seen? I can imagine there's a lot of relief where you are.
There is, especially in the community of Moscow, Idaho, and there's more shock here in the Pullman area because I don't think anyone on campus here suspected that it would be a student at Washington State University. So that has come as quite a surprise, of course, for the students on this campus and those who actually knew him at this apartment complex here. And meantime, a great sense of relief in Moscow, Idaho. Students were afraid. They were trying to take precautions to keep themselves safe because nobody knew who the suspect was in this case until today.
All right, Jennifer Dowling live for us from our sister station in Seattle. Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Oh, that was quick. Okay. Let's move it over here. But yeah, I do say, I'm going to say I'm a Kohberger. I say Kohberger. I don't know why. I just do it. I think it's my accent. I'm blaming it on that because I don't know why, but I did that with another name. What was the name? Oh, I did it the other night with another name. I forget which one it was. Someone in the chat will probably remember, but I literally, like, I said it with another name and I was like, oh my gosh, I do that. That person's living in my head rent free. That's first said I didn't know. Kohberger. It's kind of sounds like Kohberger. If I say it really fast, probably. Probably make people hungry after the stream. Some shit. Sorry about that. Kohberger. People are probably like, I can't take her seriously. She can't even say his last name right. I've been saying that ever since. I've always spelled his name right. I've just always put an L in there. I don't know. That's what I like to do. It's what I like to do. So I'm going to read over this article with you guys, and then we're going to get into this new video that just came out a few hours ago about the case and just about Bryan Kohberger's arrest. It all ties in together. So this is actually from January 5th, 2023, and this is after the PCA came out And there's a little gnat in here. Spring's here and I hate them. So if you see me over here, like, you know, trying to grab at something that you don't see, it's a gnat. There's like a little gnat. I can see it. So he came to mess with me on my lights. Really, Jody? I don't use chat GPT. I don't think chat GPT before, but I've used like chat AI before, like just to see what it would do. And it always never worked very well for me, but I think I'm going to keep trying because I want to try to do like, where I could put in like my household, like list, like chores, and it'll tell me like days and times I can do them. Like you could like use AI to help you clean and stuff. Hate to know. And that's what I want to use it for. Welcome in, everybody, and welcome in everybody that came in when I was reading. You have a Rhode Island accent? Oh, I bet it's nice. I bet Rhode Island, that would be a good accent to have. So investigators reveal new information that they say tie Idaho killings to Bryan Kohberger. This is right after the PCA came out and after they had arrested him. This picture here is when he went to his first court appearance in Pennsylvania. If you guys weren't around back then for that, he literally just got walked from the hallway down, shuffled by some cameras, flash, flash, flash. They took him in the courtroom. He was in there approximately 10 or 15 minutes, if I remember right. And then we all just sat here. And then he shuffled back through, and you could hear people taking pictures again and videotaping and stuff. So that's all that hearing entailed, because Pennsylvania, I guess they don't record their court hearings. And I don't like that. Same way with New York. But Idaho does. And Idaho authorities have released the most comprehensive evidence yet, tying the stabbing deaths to 4 University of Idaho students to a suspect arrested last week and charged with murder in their killings. Among the new information is the recovery of a DNA sample from a leather knife sheath found in one of the victims' beds that appears to be a strong match for Kohberger, as well as the revelation that a roommate of the victims had been awoken during the night and saw a strange masked man exit the house. Idaho authorities have charged Bryan Kohberger with murder in the November stabbing deaths of the 4 students. Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at nearby Washington State University, has been charged with 4 counts of murder in the first degree, along with 1 count of felony burglary. Early in the morning of November 13th, the 4 students, Ethan Chapin, 20, Madison Mogan, 21, Xana Kernodle, 20, and Kaylee Gonsalves, 21, were stabbed to death in the Moscow, Idaho home where 3 of them lived together and with 2 other students. The 4th victim, Chapin, was dating Kernodle and spending the night. What the roommate told police, the hours before the attack had been a normal Saturday night of partying for the 4 victims, witnesses and friends say. Chapin and Kernodle had attended a fraternity party. Mogan and Gonsalves had gone to a bar and stopped by a food truck on the way home to their house on King Road. All 4 were home by 2 a.m. and most were asleep by 4 a.m. 2 other roommates were not attacked. In the affidavit released Thursday, Moscow police said that one roommate identified in the document as DM was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by sounds coming from upstairs, including what she thought was her roommate Gonsalves saying, "There's someone here." DM looked out her bedroom door but didn't see anything, after which she heard more noises, she told investigators, crying, a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you," more voices, a loud thud, a dog barking. She opened her door again, and this time she saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask walking towards her, the affidavit says. It was a male stranger, she said, describing him as at least 5'10", not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. As she stood in a frozen shock phase, the man walked past her towards the house near the sliding door, after which the roommate locked herself in her room, investigators said. You would think, I don't know. I guess it's a good thing she didn't walk out, but because I don't know, we don't know if he ended up exiting out that back slider door, but I'm wondering why no one thought to like lock that door. Like, I guess just because bedroom door was the closest one, probably scared. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I would assume. So investigators also canvassed the area of the King Road house to collect video footage, which revealed a white sedan, later identified as a Hyundai Elantra, traveling towards the home around 3:30 a.m., making several passes by the house and then departing the area around 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. Security footage from the campus of Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, where Kohberger was a graduate student, showed a similar white sedan headed in the direction of Moscow about 15 miles away across the state line shortly before 3 a.m., and then appearing to turn around at 5:30 a.m. On November 29th, a police search of vehicles registered to WSU students revealed a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra registered to Bryan Kohberger, originally with Pennsylvania plates that were later registered in Washington. It says, after identifying Kohberger as a possible suspect, police discovered that he had been subject to a traffic stop in August. At that time, he gave Moscow police his phone number. In late December, investigators worked through cell phone records, attempting to uncover whether his phone had pinged cell phone towers near the crime scene or on routes to and from it. An initial search showed that his phone did not, in fact, ping any cell phone towers near the crime scene on November 13th between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. But investigators noted that a lack of cell phone pings could be an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement of one's proximity to a crime scene, they said. Expanding their search, authorities discovered that Kohberger's phone pinged cell phone towers in Pullman around 2:47 a.m., consistent with the phone departing Kohberger's residence and traveling south through Pullman, the affidavit reads. That was the last ping for about 2 hours, investigators said. Then at 4:48 a.m., the phone appeared on the network again, pinged along highways south of Moscow, then west across the border into Washington State, and then back north towards Pullman, a timeline that aligns with security footage of the white Elantra, investigators noted. The disappearance of the phone from the network for 2 hours was consistent with an effort to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide, the affidavit reads, or says. There is no evidence in the affidavit that Kohberger's phone had been in contact with any of the victims or people associated with them. But his phone had pinged cell phone towers in the area of the King Road house at least 12 times before the homicides, investigators found, including as early as August 21st, the day before his classes as a graduate student were set to begin at Washington State. Most of those occasions were late night or early in the morning, the affidavit reads or says. The phone also returned to the area of the crime scene around 9:15 a.m. on November 13th, about 5 hours after the stabbings, before they had been reported to police. In mid-December, after the semester at Washington State had come to an end, Kohberger drove the Elantra back to his family's home in Pennsylvania, along with his father, who had traveled to Washington so the two of them could make the long drive together. Investigators noted evidence of the car's journey back to Pennsylvania, a license plate capture in Colorado, a traffic stop in Indiana. This week, authorities in Indiana released a video of a pair of traffic stops along Interstate 70 east of Indianapolis, where two different officers had pulled over the Kohbergers for tailgating on the morning of December 5th. Body camera footage shows the younger Kohberger driving the car with his father in the passenger seat. Both times, after a brief and polite conversation, the officers let the Kohbergers go without a ticket. With a volume of evidence, the roommate's description, the movements of the white Elantra, and the cell phone data appearing to point to Kohberger, authorities in Idaho enlisted the help of Pennsylvania police to collect a DNA sample to test against one recovered from the button snap of a tan leather knife sheath found in the bed near one of the victims' bodies. On December 27th, police in Pennsylvania recovered a sample from the trash outside the Kohberger family residence in Albrightsville. The Idaho State Crime Lab determined that the sample found in the trash likely belongs to the biological father of the person who left DNA on the knife sheath, according to the affidavit. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father, the affidavit says. I keep wanting to say reads. I don't know why. And it clearly says right there. 3 days later, Pennsylvania police arrested Kohberger. He was soon extradited to Idaho, where he is expected to appear in court on Thursday. In an interview Tuesday, Kohberger's lawyer, Jason LaBar, the chief public defender of Monroe County, Pennsylvania, said the suspect believes he's going to be exonerated. Okay. Oh, look, they spell his name. Look at this. Look, corrections. A previous version of the story misspelled the last name of Bryan Kohberger as, look, Bryan Cole with an L. What if I read this back then and that's where I got it from? I don't know. We're blaming it on them. Oh, what are you going? Where are you going, sir? Cat wants out. Sorry, hold on one second. And then we'll actually, let me just put it on the sorry about that. It was loud. Let me rewind it because I was watching this earlier. I'll be right over there. His little body, he's so old. Like it creaks when he walks. Like you can hear my poor cat's paws. That little poor kitty. Oh, and Vincent didn't believe me when I said that. He's like, that's not him. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's definitely him. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is going to go over like Bryan Kohberger's arrest and all that stuff. So I'll pause it here for commentary, but I'll be in the chat with you guys. If anyone wants to become a member of this awesome channel that we do have here, I'll put the link in the chat. I'm going to hit play and then I'm going to let the cat out.
I think one thing that every single one of us are going to want more of and will never get is what is going on inside the mind of Bryan Kohberger.
Live from Fox 13, this is breaking news.
All right, good morning, everybody. We are getting our first look at the man who is in custody now, connected to the killings of 4 university students in Moscow, Idaho.
Everybody wanted to know who this person was.
Bryan Kohberger is in custody, arrested in Pennsylvania this morning as we try and learn more about him.
If we could just get inside of this person's head and understand, we would all feel a lot of closure.
The 28-year-old attended Northampton Community College, where he made the dean's list at least 2 semesters, then graduated DeSales University in his home state of Pennsylvania with a master's in criminal justice. This fall, he moved to Pullman to begin his first semester at Washington State, seeking a PhD. Some of those that knew him in school described him as professional, nice, mature.
It says to me that he's really got 2 faces, but the fact that he was able to hide this behind a calm and friendly demeanor and not set off any alerts or issues when he was getting an education, that's scary.
He was very talkative and friendly person.
Narong says Kohberger was passionate about...
He did set off alerts, though. He did. Thank you, Be Happy. Look at that. Just gifted 5 memberships. Welcome to the family, everybody that got one. I paused that right at the right time, didn't I? Thank you, Be Happy. That's very nice of you.
About criminology studies and his PhD.
He would talk about, he wants to know why people commit crime, what is the key reason behind crimes, and how people think while committing them.
We've now had more court filings come out, right? Now we've learned he has autism, or he's been diagnosed with autism. And we've had hints of this along the way.
He did not acknowledge anyone in the crowd that was sitting in the gallery area of the courtroom. They'd come to watch the proceedings. He kept his eyes basically straight forward and focused only on his attorney and the judge.
You read things like this and it makes you feel one way, but then you have to look at the evidence and that points in a different direction. And then at the end of the day, you have these 4 students who are no longer with us.
Bryan Kohberger looked alert as he listened to the charges against him, including felony burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder, with the victims' names and associated charges read one by one.
The defendant, Bryan C. Kohberger, on or about November 13th of 2022 in Lake Tahoe County, State of Idaho.
I think he probably has an excellent ability to compartmentalize, meaning he can do something horrendous and think something horrendous and then box it over here, leave it over here, and then to the world, he appears as though he's just an innocent guy.
When Bryan first entered the courtroom, he greeted his defense attorney with a brief smile. The judge later finding him eligible for a public defender.
I have court-appointed counsel.
Defense attorneys say court is theater, and by that, there's an element of not dishonesty, but some things are going to be held behind the curtain.
Defense attorneys for Bryan Kohberger now suggesting that he had an alibi the night 4 University of Idaho students were murdered. In a new court filing, defense attorneys claim to have evidence that a WSU criminology student was not at the home where the murders took place last fall. However, they did not provide any details backing up that story, saying instead that it would come out at trial.
When we hear about a crime, we want to know a motive. We want to know the reasons why. We want all of the facts. That is our expectations. But when you're an attorney and you have a trial on the line, you're playing a different game. If you think of it like this, you have a set of jurors who are neutral from the start, and there are 2 finish lines, 2 different paths that they can take. And over the time period of this trial, each side, the state and the defense, are going to work to get them to their path. And at some points, they might sway to the left. At other points, they might sway to the right. It is the defense and the state's job to shepherd them in the direction they want. And what you're trying to do is get enough jurors on your side of that rope to make sure they sway opinion. And for the defense, it's a little bit easier because they don't have to ever get that rope to go over the line. They just have to prevent it from going too far.
That's right.
So when we were speaking with Ann Bremner, she did mention these 2 very high-profile cases, O.J. Simpson and the Casey Anthony case, both where there was a public opinion of guilt going into it that ended up not having the results that a lot of people expected.
But remember that there were anomalies there, and that was enough to convince a jury to acquit him. I mean, the fact that the questions of how the blood was stored, whether or not there was a planting of a glove by, Mark Furman at the house.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
I wonder, could you imagine? Could you imagine this is like the not guilty of our generation? Because I wasn't around for OJ like that. I was 9. You know what I mean? But I was around for Casey Anthony like that. So I guess that would be my generation, Casey Anthony. And thank you so much, Be Happy, for gifting out 25 memberships. Geez Louise. Yeah, I think everyone's getting one. But I mean, these were I said we should go over the OJ trial because I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I remember we videotaped it. I'm surprised I didn't get that videotape when my dad died. I didn't see that. Not that crazy.
Those anomalies,
he did.
Those kind of inexplicable, unexplained types of evidence can basically build up with a jury to where they have a reasonable doubt. All they need is a reasonable doubt for one juror to at least have a hung jury, and that would be a victory for the defense.
Apparently, Kohberger said immediately upon officers arriving, who else did you arrest? Mm-hmm. And that came out around the same time with a defendant saying something like that. With your professional expertise, what does that tell you, if anything?
Well, it tells you that there could be another person involved. I mean, he would be truthful in kind of blurting something out when the police get there. That was the first thing that he said. That's the first thing that came to his mind. Like, did you get the other person, or did you get a different person who did this? I didn't do it. Is there another arrest? Because now, at least according to the prosecution's briefing, he apparently is going to claim that the evidence was planted, that the real killer planted the evidence.
Armchair quarterback question, looking at both sides, would you do anything different?
I think the defense will do everything they can to save him from the death penalty.
Attorneys claim he has autism, and now they're trying to use his diagnosis to get the death penalty taken off the table.
You can't sentence somebody to death who's under the age of 18, and you can't sentence somebody to death who has intellectual disability.
So, yeah, I was going to say no, and then I was like, yeah, actually, remember the girl, Casey Ants, and her brother, I forget her brother's name, but her and her brother used to hang out with Kohberger, but her brother really did. They were like best buddies. And then Kohberger, he lost all the weight or something. And then he started beating him up, being mean to him. And then the sister drove him one day, went and picked him up. And she thought she was just driving him somewhere. And I guess she drove him to get rugs, and she didn't know that's what she was doing. like really hard ones, the ones that start with the letter H. So, yeah, there were a couple people that came out and talked about him. Is that what you're going to say? I don't know, but that's what I was going to say. There were a couple people from high school that came out. You were in college. We should do OJ. People have been talking about a lot, like the OJ case again, like on Law and Crime, or Court TV, one of the two. And I'm like, why are we talking about him now? Because, you know, I think we all kind of know what that verdict should have been. I think everybody was shocked. Even the people that that were saying he was innocent, I didn't even think that they were shocked.
His attorneys say a doctor has evaluated him, and they say his autism has had significant impact on his daily life.
The jury needs to understand everything about that defendant that influences his responsibility for that crime.
So the newspaper found social media postings from Kohberger from 2011, and in them he wrote about not feeling emotions.
What's written here is the most insightful of anything I've seen for Kohberger, because his level of honesty here really tells you what he's going through.
Kappa Talk account that he had. I should have grabbed those.
I'll tell you, like, if I talk like to my family or my friends and they say, do you think he can get off? I never heard that before. You know, just kind of, you know, out there in the ether, people saying, do you think he can get off? And I think that's because of all of this press about all the attacks on the case by the defense.
A court ruling expected as soon as next week may upend the case against accused University of Idaho student killer Bryan Kohberger.
Well, Kohberger's attorneys are asking Judge Steve Hippler to toss out not only the DNA evidence in this case, but nearly all of the evidence collected.
Kohberger's attorneys say police illegally obtained his DNA through genetic genealogy, and they believe that's a violation of Kohberger's Fourth Amendment rights.
The defense also argues evidence was illegally collected from Kohberger's digital history, including Amazon, Apple, and Google accounts, as well as cell phone data, placing Kohberger at the scene of the murder a dozen times before the actual killings.
Did any of them stand out more than the others? Or any of these new things that we've heard more significant in a case?
I think the autism.
We are back on the record in State v. Kohberger.
Keep in mind, Idaho has.
And I do, the more I think about it, I do think he has autism. I kind of do. I do. But I don't think that, I think that, like, there's just like the defense is saying, it's like level 1. It's not, you know, it's like a sprinkle of autism, you know. I think it's like he has more, like, when he talks with people, he's not very good with talking with other people. I think he maybe enters people's personal space a little too much, or he tries to overtalk people, things like that. But I don't think that he, you know, has, and maybe he needs, like, you know, structure and stability, things like that nature, those like of that nature. But I don't think that he is where he cannot do without daily living. She said that he couldn't function normally in day-to-day life, and that's just a lie. That's just a lie.
No insanity defense, no diminished capacity defense, no mental defenses at all. So he can't put that in the murder trial, but they can at sentencing because of that case law that talks about cruel and unusual punishment to kill somebody that's mentally ill.
And we start tonight with accused killer Bryan Kohberger and his attempts to avoid the death penalty. Attorneys claim he has autism, and now they're trying to use his diagnosis to get the death penalty taken off the table.
His attorneys say a doctor has evaluated him, and they say his autism has had significant impact on his daily life. Today, though, I talked with an expert who tells me the fact that the defense is raising this even before the trial starts is unique.
The Supreme Court of the United States has never ruled on this. You know, many state and federal courts haven't ever ruled on it. They haven't had the opportunity to do it. So yes, I mean, I think there's an opportunity for a court to say that we're not going to allow people with autism to be sentenced to death.
That doesn't mean they won't be punished for their crimes if they are found guilty, but they will receive a different kind of punishment.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Because culpability is at the heart of whether someone should receive a death penalty, the jury needs to understand everything about that defendant that influences his responsibility for that crime. And that includes any sort of brain impairments.
Then he had that visual snow, and there's some reference that he was saying he wanted to kill himself. It was so bad, or, he just couldn't live like this. And so those are things you definitely have to look into.
Well, he said that he had visual snow. There was no doctor that said it. And the two doctors that are talking about him having the autism, like the autism claim, and they're saying that they did or some imaging, I'm assuming brain imaging, and something else. They did some other like test with him to find that out. They didn't even, I'm sorry, I almost lost my train of thought. They didn't complete their records or their like review of it. So they don't even have a full, like the prosecution doesn't have like a full download of this to where they can look and be like, okay, yeah, he does have autism. These two people say that. Here's their reports, because the reports are incomplete. So there's that. Ann Taylor should probably get on that. I would. If that's your claim, he has autism, then I would get on those people, those two, experts, and say, hey, can you go ahead and write down the rest of your notes here? Can you test him for visual snow as well? Because he said he had this when he was younger. I mean, if he did have it, genuinely, he thinks he had it, then test for it. Put that on there too. He has visual snow and he's autistic. But we haven't heard anything about visual snow.
Before this even came about, I didn't even know what visual snow syndrome was. I've never heard of it before.
What visual snow is when the vision looks like you're looking through a screen of static. Most of my patients also report persistent after images. So looking at even just a computer screen briefly, they might see the image in their vision as they're looking around. Really sensitive to light is another hallmark. And there's a lot of other symptoms that are not visually related that are correlated. So you have things like depression, anxiety, depersonalization.
I remember there were forums that came out with Kohberger kind of posting on it, talking about visual snow and the symptoms of it.
New York Times investigation pulling the curtain back on Bryan Kohberger, the Idaho quadruple murder suspect.
So the newspaper found social media postings from Kohberger from 2011, and in them he wrote about not feeling emotions. In 2011, Kohberger would have been just 16 years old.
I often find myself making simple human interactions, but it's as if I'm playing a role-playing game. I'm stuck in this void of nothing, feeling completely no emotion, feeling nothing.
I feel dirty, like there's dirt inside of my head, my mind. I remember when I was 15, I would wander alone at 2 a.m. Everything was so generic. Nowhere felt like home. I saw things that were not there, a different reality.
It is as if the ringing in my ears and the fuzz in my vision is simply all of the demons in my head mocking me. I fall asleep, but I wake up quickly to bloody screams.
One expert that I talked with about visual snow syndrome talked about a ringing in the ears, how some folks do experience that.
Wouldn't his parents be able to back this up a little bit? Don't you think? Like, exactly, how did he drive? That would be scary. Like, I'm just over here like, I don't know. Kohberger.
They didn't mention these other things, though.
What's written here is...
You would think his parents would be able to say, yeah, he had visual snow. We took him to the doctor. I don't know. I mean, if you had visual snow, you would tell your parents. You wouldn't just keep that a secret. That would be driving you nuts. Can you imagine? So, like, it looks like a TV screen analog in front of your face all the time? No, I'd be telling my parents when I was 16, yeah.
The most insightful of anything I've seen for Kohberger, because his level of honesty here really tells you what he's going through, the demons he thinks he's battling, how much he feels like he has no self-worth, and how much he really hates himself.
Maybe he felt all of that. Maybe he felt all those things, like no self-worth, he hated himself, and all those. Maybe he felt all those things, and he wanted to have the diagnoses for himself. Like he felt all of the depersonalization and all that. And he was like, okay, it must be visual snow. I don't know. I mean, at 16, you probably would try to self-diagnose yourself.
Feel like my life is a movie. Depression, no interest in activity, constant thought of suicide.
Crazy thoughts,
I don't
delusions
know.
of
Parents would
grandeur,
know.
anxiety.
Poor self-image, poor social skills, no emotion, all in caps. I feel like nothing has a point to it.
I search for someone to relate to me. Everyone looks down upon me. No one can relate. Being me is this horrible disease that I was given. Honestly, it seems kind of unbelievable. This whole situation just seems as if it's been scripted, that you would have a suspect in this case who had the education that they did, who is now accused of this crime.
It is amazing to me that if he's guilty, he went to a state that has the death penalty by firing squad.
We're comfortable with firearms. We see them to be used for justice.
Some people said maybe he did that as to kind of run into his own demise.
Well, for most people, when they first hear the use of firing squad, they may think that's barbaric and awful. But listen to the experts.
The best medical evidence shows that consciousness ensues within 3 to 4 seconds, and death follows swiftly thereafter.
911 location of your emergency. Something is happening in our house. We don't know what.
A flood of new evidence has been released ahead of the quadruple murder trial of Bryan Kohberger. That includes the 911 call made just hours after the murders.
One of the roommates just passed out, and she was drunk last night and did not wake me up. Okay. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night.
Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa talked with the father of one of the victims about that 911 call, Idaho's firing squad, and what he misses the most after his daughter's death.
Honestly, it's terrible. My wife never wanted to hear it. She still doesn't hear it. She still hasn't listened to it. She probably never will.
Steve Gonsalves is Kaylee's dad, but he also considers Maddie a daughter.
We didn't lose one girl. We lost two.
Seeing his face and hearing his name triggers Steve every time.
You want to do all kinds of illegal things that you're not supposed to even talk about. It's terrible.
If convicted, Kohberger faces the death penalty. His attorneys are fighting to get that removed. But it comes as Idaho Governor Brad Little signed legislation to make the firing squad the state's main method of execution.
This is somebody playing God and ending people's lives. So we got to make a determination. We set an example that this isn't a place where we're going to tolerate this type of behavior.
It is amazing to me that if he's guilty, he went to a state that has the death penalty by firing squad and has no insanity defense, no mental defense.
I don't think he knew all that. Like, well, he knew he definitely didn't know about the firing squad. That's a Kohberger special. Like, and I said with the L, Kohberger special. Like, it did come about like when he was on trial and everyone made it like look like it was for him only, but it's not. It wasn't for him only. They just decided, I guess, they can't get the Ruggs to do it that way. So now they're going to be doing it by means of firearm. And I don't think Kohberger knew. I think that probably scares him a little. I mean, I don't think he thought he was going to get caught though.
If he stayed in our state, it might be a little bit different.
15-minute drive that changes the entire basis of this case.
Exactly. Just a 15-minute drive. Some people have said maybe he did that as to kind of run into his own demise. He had to know that all of these things if he's a murderer, as he went into Idaho, he knew all those things.
Keep in mind, Idaho is a firearms state. I live in the county with the 10th most firearms per capita in the nation. I think we're tied with a couple of counties in the nation, and another one of our counties is the third highest per capita firearms in the nation.
Wow.
So we're comfortable with firearms. We see them to be used for justice. For most people, when they first hear the use of firing squad, they may think that's barbaric and awful. But listen to the experts. There's experts around the country that say this is the best
We just
way
had
to
one
go.
yesterday or day
I wouldn't
before.
say that I'm an advocate for firing squad execution. I'm just I'm probably the person, one of the few people who can explain it from a medical and ballistics perspective in such a manner that it's understandable. I'm an emergency physician. I'm a trauma specialist. So I don't rejoice in the fact that the state is going to kill these people by firing squad, lethal injection, or anything else. But the law states that the state can, and therefore it behooves me as a physician my primary objective is not to necessarily to save lives, but to minimize suffering compared to some of the other violent means of death that are available at the hands of the state. Death by gunshot wound has less suffering associated with it. Any patrolman who has a rifle in his squad car in the state of Idaho is going to be capable of meeting the marksmanship standard of a firing squad easily.
In my opinion, and a lot of opinions, but if he's guilty of this and he unalived 4 people in their beds and he walked into their home in the dead of night and just did this, like they're saying, absolutely he should be on the death row, in my opinion. In my humblest of opinions, yeah. He should be by himself 23 hours a day for the rest of his natural born life.
It's not a difficult shot.
And he doesn't get a choice. He doesn't get a choice how he gets to go out because they didn't get a choice neither.
The inmate is restrained in a chair. A target is placed over the heart, and then a number of high-powered rifles, military-grade rifles, are used to fire bullets into the heart, which leads to catastrophic destruction of the heart, immediate drop of blood pressure to almost nothing. Well, actually, to nothing. And then when blood flow ceases, the best medical evidence shows that unconsciousness ensues within 3 to 4 seconds, and death follows swiftly thereafter.
If you look at it just on the surface level, you see someone that just seems to fit this character that has been created of a cold killer.
Committing some horrible crime, maybe it just seems like it's some kind of a movie to him. Maybe he doesn't even feel like people are real.
It seems like with each day we're learning new details. So no, I don't think we'll ever know who the real Bryan Kohberger is.
You're his defense attorney. Do you let him take the stand?
That's a good question. Do you think he would take the stand? I don't think he would. But then again, maybe, we've seen crazier things happen, We've definitely seen crazier things happen in true crime.
You're his defense attorney. Do you let him take the stand?
I would never let him take the stand. There's just too much. There's too much evidence they can cross him with, like you just talked about, with the sightings, the car being there a number of different times, that, his background in criminal justice, the sheath and his DNA. Like, how do you explain that? There's a question for him on the stand. How do you explain that? And he's got the autism, so he's going to be wooden if you believe that that's what he has. And he's going to be inappropriate. And he's going to look at the jury in a way that might scare them, because he's kind of piercing eyes. They're a little bit dead. That's all maybe the autism. Never, ever, ever would I put him on the stand.
Delusions of grandeur, crazy thoughts, constant thought of suicide, mean for no reason, poor social skills, depression, lack of comprehension at some times. This just seems like the evidence that you would need to say, what more do you want? Even if this person doesn't take the stand, here are their words.
I search for someone to relate to me. Everyone looks down upon me. No one can relate. And then the last thing here says, being me is this horrible disease that I was given. I can't imagine if this is what someone is going through, if this is what he was going through. That's a lot of stuff to go through. But if he's the one who killed these 4 students, that's no excuse.
Committing some horrible crime, maybe it just seems like it's some kind of a movie to him. Maybe he doesn't even feel like people are real.
What if I let go? Where would I be? Would I ever come back to reality? I might spiral out of control and lose myself in the void.
I don't think we're seeing the real Kohberger in court. I think the real Kohberger is the guy who went into the void to see what was in there. And now what we're seeing again is the mask, the mask of perceived innocence, the mask of, I didn't do this.
You think? I don't know. I think that he I think that he made some mistakes I think he encountered some things that he wasn't expecting to encounter that night, meaning more more people than he anticipated. I think that he anticipated, unaliving one person, and he ended up, it was like a trickle effect, like he ended up just meeting with Kaylee. So then, I think Maddie was the target, and then Kaylee came in. So I think that, he had to get rid of Kaylee. When he was coming down the stairs, I think that's probably when he either encountered Xana or Ethan. I'm assuming Xana, and then got her back to her room and unalived them there. And then when he was coming back through, he either didn't see Dylan because he was looking down for that little 4-inch step right there, or so he didn't trip over it, or maybe he did see her and she retreated and closed the door, and he was just like, I'm out. I'm just going to leave or something, maybe he was going back up to the 3rd floor, not when he encountered Dylan. Maybe he was going back towards the 3rd floor, not maybe necessarily the slider. And he was going back up to get the sheath. And then maybe he saw Dylan, it registered as he's like going up the stairs. And then he was like, nope, never mind. And he walked out and he left. And maybe he left out the front door. We don't know for sure yet. They never really told us why the front door was open. They haven't really told it. I swear they said something in one of the interviews that the back door was open, the slider, but I can't find where I saw that. I think we'll go back over BK's Tappa Talk on the next live. He has 118 posts on this thing. I've never even heard of Tappa Talk. I guess I'm older than him, but still not that much older. 10 years, I've never heard of it, but, there was a couple creators that had found his account. So that's why, we have it. So we'll go over that, but let me see it. Oh, I wanted to show you guys this. This was from 2 years ago, and it was from December 30th, 2022. So the day that Bryan was arrested. It says Idaho student murder suspect arrested. Everything we know so far. So I thought we'd just go back and kind of watch this. And then we'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll end the live. Look at Chief Fry.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for murder of Ethan, Xana, Madison, and Kaylee.
Nearly 7 weeks after Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were found murdered in a home near the University of Idaho campus, an arrest is made. I'm Anjanette Levy, and welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. We have a special breaking news edition of the podcast for you today. The man who is under arrest is Bryan Kohberger. He is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and felony burglary for entering the King Road home back in the early morning hours of November 13th and murdering Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Kohberger is a 28-year-old PhD student at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. And that's really just a short distance away from Moscow, Idaho, where the murders occurred. It's about a 10-mile drive, 15 minutes to get there. He was getting his PhD in criminal justice and criminology. Kohberger was arrested earlier Friday morning at his home in Pennsylvania and booked into the Monroe County Jail. He is being held without bail. And joining me to discuss this development is retired Houston homicide detective extraordinaire Phil Waters and retired FBI agent Bobby
I like
Chacon.
Phil
Phil
Walters.
and Bobby, welcome to Sidebar. Thanks to both of you for coming on. Phil, I'll start with you. Your thoughts.
Well, I'd have to tell you, first of all, kudos to the Moscow Police Department, those detectives, the chief, the state police, and the FBI guys, and all the people that helped process that evidence that's brought us to this day. This is the day we've all been looking forward to. So I would say first, kudos to those folks.
Bobby, I'm thinking, the FBI was involved in this arrest. There was some reporting out there that they've been tracking this guy for several days. Briefly, your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was great police work, lightning fast for a quadruple homicide investigation of this complexity. I mean, a lot of people on the internet were chiding the police for moving slow. They didn't move slow. This was an amazingly fast investigation, and they got their man, as I kind of thought they would. And I think that, my reading is that they've been tracking him for a couple of days. Probably likely trying to get a DNA sample, like we saw in the Golden State Killer case, where they followed D'Angelo around for a few days to try to get some item that he touched or he drank from his trash or from something else, and match the DNA profile that they had, when they did that extensive crime scene in that house. That took time to get all those blood samples separated and then develop a DNA profile. And now that I think they have it, because part of this is a DNA genetic match to some of the material in the house. So now if you have him in that house, you have his DNA in or around the victims. I think, they've got their man.
Search warrants are being executed at both the apartment where Kohberger lived in Pullman, Washington, and at the home where he was arrested in Pennsylvania. So the white Hyundai Elantra was a clue. It was something that really seemed to break this investigation wide open. The police chief today was asked whether or not, A, they had found the white Elantra, and B, the murder weapon. Briefly, this is what he had to say.
So we are still looking for all pieces of evidence, but we are still looking for the weapon. And I will say that we have found an Elantra.
Bobby, I asked Moscow PD point blank yesterday on Thursday, did you find the white Elantra? And I got the same canned response that they were making progress. But we know that the arrest paperwork was filed under seal in Latah County on Thursday. So
Well, and Jeanette, they couldn't tell you, honey. They were making their arrest.
did you think that the white Hyundai Elantra here was key? And what is the possibility of recovering the murder weapon?
Well, first, I think the Elantra was key. And you kind of got that feeling when they were really saying people in this car has vital information. They really wanted this car. It wasn't just a couple of different vehicles. It was one very specific vehicle. They saw it on video. There weren't many other cars in the area moving around that night. So I think they really, really knew that that was a crucial piece. And I think they probably have the Elantra. He probably drove it back to Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, I think that long drive from Idaho to Pennsylvania, he had ample opportunity to ditch that murder weapon, which is probably a large knife, in any number of places. And that's thousands of miles of roadway. There's probably lots of bodies of water. I ran the FBI dive team for a number of years. A lot of people like to ditch things over bridges in water. It could be anywhere, unless he gives them some kind of indication of where he deposited that murder weapon, or unless he made a really amateur mistake in putting it somewhere where they'll find it. It's going to be difficult, but that's not crucial. I don't think they need particularly the murder weapon in this case to get a conviction.
Phil, there was a post on Reddit that some people found where Bryan Kohberger, when he was getting his master's, was soliciting people on Reddit, criminals and things, to talk about their thoughts and feelings, things like that. It appears this is a legitimate post, and his Reddit account has now been suspended. Your thoughts on somebody who is a criminology and criminal justice PhD, and with this creepy survey on Reddit, being accused of these crimes?
Well, this is all going to be part of a huge, big psychological puzzle for this guy. I know when I was investigating homicide that we would do a psychological profile or a psychological autopsy on the person that was our suspect. And this is all going to be part of a huge puzzle for this character. I think it's interesting that he's got this background in criminal justice, so forth and so on. So you wonder if maybe the answers will come out is that a lot of this was just a progression of events, that he wanted to see if he could get away with a crime like this. And he became fascinated with the workings and the mechanics of this type of an event. It's kind of a strange, and looking at the guy's picture, looking into his eyes, I mean, I've looked into the eyes of evil before, and I've got to say that just the picture appears to me that he's kind of above it all at this point. He's not remorseful in any way. He's a little bit arrogant, as a matter of fact, and he's kind of waiting to see that now. Okay, the story is out. Let's see what these police officers do. And to what Bobby was talking about, they're doing the due diligence. They're executing search warrants at his apartment in Pullman, and I'm assuming they're going to execute a search warrant at the parents' house in Pennsylvania on the vehicle itself, and they'll be executing search warrants on the cell phone if they got one. I agree with Bobby. I don't know that it's important necessarily in the string of evidence to get the murder weapon. It would be nice icing on the cake, but he may be one of these guys that he may have kept it as a trophy. So we'll just have to see how that plays out.
When police announced the arrest at a press conference on Friday afternoon, they were notoriously tight-lipped. I felt like they almost wanted to tell us, but they say that they can't. And they've played everything close to the vest the entire time. They've been very tight-lipped, which led to a lot of complaints. Let's listen to Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson talk about the next steps in this case and why he says they can't tell us anything right now.
There's a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts with all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on.
Bobby, the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, said we can't release the complaint in the affidavit until this guy is back in Idaho, until Bryan Kohberger has been extradited and he's served with the paperwork. So it's been very frustrating for everybody to not have that information, but it seems like to me that they're dotting all the I's and crossing all of the T's.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're right that they want to tell us what they've had because they've worked really hard in this case and they've done a really great job. And they've been nothing but, chided on the internet by amateur sleuths who think they can do it better and the police are making all these mistakes, which is ridiculous. And so I think they want to come out and show the fruits of their labors, their very, very intense labors over the past 6 weeks. And I think that, and they'll have every right to be lauded and applauded for the work that they've done, because like I said, this is a lightning fast investigation in a quadruple homicide with a very complex crime scene. So I think they want to say it, they want it to come out. But as the prosecutor said, everybody's going to hold the reins. We will not get every answer when that affidavit is unsealed. It's a very minimal document. They just put enough in there to meet the probable cause threshold. So I think that there'll be still more questions, but that'll come out in the pretrial hearings and ultimately at the trial if he does go to trial.
And Phil, I'm wondering if that probable cause affidavit, Bobby is saying he thinks there's just enough in there to get over the probable cause hurdle. But I've seen some affidavits where they were pretty lengthy and laid out a lot of detail.
Well, Bobby is correct. That's all an affidavit is. It's probable cause. Now, sometimes the case itself will determine the amount of probable cause, but the prosecution is not going to divulge all of their evidence in a probable cause affidavit. They're going to be keeping that back, and they just want enough in there to do that. Now, there may be a little bit more in this affidavit than normal because of the circumstances, but for them to hold back whatever they're holding back, of course they want to tell us. However, look, the whole point now is that we have a successful prosecution, and the death penalty is on the table in this case. These prosecutors are not going to do anything that's going to compromise the ultimate outcome of this successful outcome of this prosecution.
Well, Bryan Kohberger is being held in the Monroe County Jail in Pennsylvania, awaiting extradition. There's a hearing on January 3rd about that. And he, as I said, is being held without bond, 4 counts of first-degree murder. And I speak, I think, for all of us when I say our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the victims at this time, because this has to be a relief for them, but also it won't bring their loved ones back, sadly. Bobby and Phil, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, Engineer.
Happy New Year. And that's it for this.
I thought she was done. I wasn't sure. Let me put me up here now. Okay. Thanks, Anjanette. I was just reading through some of his Tap a Chalk account like post. Yeah, we're gonna have to go over these. He did say some weird stuff. Like, I have just accepted my visual snow finally. I don't even feel the need to stay away from the forum. It doesn't scare me anymore. Anyone else come to terms? I feel like coming to terms could be a bad thing though. Like, I don't know. I feel like he is just like really wanting some friends or something. I don't know. Like looking at all the wrong places, buddy. Southern-ish. Topamax. Or is it Topamate? I think that's how you say it, but it's spelled like Max. Let me get back to that. Topamax. I feel like that I've heard of that. Is that an anti like, do you know what that is? Is it an antidepressant pill? She's a nurse. That's why I'm asking her. I should put that in there, you know, like Southern-ish. Hey, do you know what this is? Because you could be like, she just knows all the drugs. That's why. But Topamax or Topamate, it's spelled T. I think I was on that actually before. Hold on a second. I felt like I was even on that. I'm gonna look that up. Let me see what this looks like. It's used for bipolar. Okay, no, maybe I haven't. Bipolar, alcohol dependence. But I think it is like Topamate. For seizures. Okay. Thank you, Margot. Gifting out 5 memberships. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, everybody that got a membership. Migraines, depression. Okay. I feel like I was on that before. For depression or something. Maybe not. Like maybe my mom was. Because I used to give her medications. Like, you know what I mean? It could have been her. But what's the number one side effect? Oh, okay. Well, it's just feeling sick. The mood stabilizer. Yeah, I don't think I was on that. Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, Topramate. Okay. That's like the actual medical word for it. You know, like the long form of the word. Yeah. It's like Topo. It's like Topamax, but Topamate is what, or Topramate is what I've heard it called. Maybe they wanted to put me on that or something before. I don't know. But I'm not on that now. But I was wondering if I thought I was like, if I was on that, I'd be like, oh, okay. But I don't know. This really tardiness, dyslexia. Was it dyslexia? No, what is it? Dyskinesia. I can't even say that. KCG. Generic name. Okay. Because it said I went crazy on it. I went crazy on Topamax. But some people can, you know what I'm thinking of? What's that medication that for sleeping? What is that one for sleeping? They put everybody on it. That's on a sleep aid. They give them that first. And I forget the name of it. It starts with a T, I think. Yeah, I don't know how to say it. Tardive. I'm gonna have to look that up. KCG. Ambien. She said Ambien. I wish they put me on Ambien, but it's not Ambien. No. Trazodone. There we go. Princess Elsa, you win. You got Tramadol. Yeah, that could be one too. But Trazodone was the one I was thinking of. Every time there's a lot of people that say like, I can't take trazodone. It messes me up. And like they can't take it. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I could fully furnish my whole house and clean it and do everything on trazodone. I don't think trazodone doesn't work for me. I must just have like my brain just is like, trazodone, what? And it laughs at it. But my mom, funny story, not so funny, but my mom got put on trazodone, got that put back on it. And the night that she took it, the first night she took it, her house caught fire. And I thought it was her. It wasn't her that did it. I thought she had smoked at the time. I thought she fell asleep smoking a cigarette. I was like, oh my God. But it wasn't her. It was the guy upstairs. It worked the reverse for me. Yeah, it was reverse. I hated it. It didn't do anything for me. They ended up putting me on something stronger. Made you feel like you were drunk? Yeah. I could see that. See? Mm-mm. Oh, Wolf, I wish I could say that. Oh, I wish I could be like that. Like, I wish if I had like one wish in this whole world of wishes, I wish that I never even took like an Advil before. Do you know what I mean? Like, I never wish I would have ever had to put anything like that in my body. I don't know what all they put in there, when I was in the hospital. They were, throwing everything in there. They're like, take this, drink some of this. That's me too, Jerry. Yeah, sometimes things are a little. I've noticed that like there are certain like medications that do that with me where I don't have like a reaction to them, but then other medications I have a super high reaction. Like I'm allergic to Zyrtec, the allergy medication. I'm allergic to allergy medication. Can you believe that? Oh, really? Terminally ill patients with high anxiety to help them sleep. Oh. Well, I hope that they're able to say like if they need more of a dosage or trazodone isn't like, I don't know. I just don't think I don't know. I would want to be, if I was terminally ill, I would want to be like passed out. Make sure I'm passing out. Like make sure I'm sleeping good. Good night, Walt. Trazodone or trazodone. I don't know. I call it either or. Free to be me. Benadryl put you to sleep. See, it just depends on me too. I could do Benadryl. Yeah, they do. I get like carded for like when I go to buy it, like go buy Benadryl or like, something like that. I'm like, you need my ID? Like my identification? And I'm like, oh, because you think I'm gonna be cooking like something with it. I gotcha. Okay. Oh, really? Casey Joe sent all your old meds. They're saying have a conversation with us. Your boyfriend's allergic to almost everything. Seem I'm not allergic to anything but aspirin and Zyrtec. I'm good to go. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just not allergic to a lot of things, which is good. Yes, Sudafed. Yeah, Willows. Yep. Sudafed, they'll get you. I think they even write your name down with the Sudafed. Like some places, like, I don't know if they write your name down or because they have to track how many quantities you're getting. I forget. Like, yeah, like, and you can only get so much. Oh, is it? Thing milder than Benadryl. Oh, I didn't know that they would do that trazodone in them. Yeah, probably Southernish. I was on a little bit of everything. I was in the they had me everywhere in that hospital. I literally traveled everywhere in that hospital. They had me in the intensive care unit. And then is there one above that? Like critical intensive care unit? I feel like that's what it was called. But and that's when my lung collapsed. And then they took me down in the middle of the night. They'll come and get you like little like little elves, and they just cart you away, and it's scary. It's really scary when you don't know what's going on, and you're like, where are you taking me? Because I'm not familiar with this. You know, I just kept saying, will my mom know where I'm at? I was 28 when this happened. Will my mom know where I'm at? And they're like, of course, we'll make sure. So because they switched me like 3 different times in the middle of the night. I'm like, if y'all switch me again in the middle of the night like this is weird. Probably trauma intensive care. Yeah. Yeah. Then they had me out of there, and then they took me back. And I was like, oh, I don't like this game. I don't like this game anymore. But that's where my mom told me, you know, I lost my eye and stuff, which the nurse had told me, but I didn't really comprehend what she had said. And I didn't know what was going on. Like, this was like day 3 or 4 too in there. I didn't notice that there was like something over my eye. Went in, just didn't even notice it after that. Oh, it made you sick to your stomach. See, it's probably the like Tylenol or whatever they put in the codeine. That's why I always tell them, like, if you can give me something without aspirin or the Tylenol, whatever, like it's in it, because that goes through your stomach too, and you know, your liver, and it just makes your belly hurt. That's what makes my belly hurt. Yeah, I think I went from the CCU to the ICU, back to the CCU, I think. Because that's when I was in the ICU and my lung collapsed. That was their fault. That wasn't their fault. It wasn't really. It was both of our faults. I shouldn't have been coughing. I was coughing for the lady, the nurse. She was asking me to cough. I could barely even open my mouth. And I was like, like that, like really little cough. And it just, you heard it like crack. And I was like, that hurt. And that's all I remember. So I'm pretty strong Southern-ish, aren't I? Thank you for the compliment. I'm metal, baby. You're allergic to penicillin? So was my dad. My dad was allergic to penicillin. I remember my mom telling me that when I was not a kid, probably my teenage years. Nurse gave me fentanyl once without me telling me. Oh, for a headache. Oh my gosh. My headache never went away, and I asked, please put in the chart to not give me that. Oh my gosh, they gave you fentanyl. Oh my Lord, have mercy for a headache. They must have been mixing you up. Oh. Yeah, I think they transferred me a little too quickly there. You're allergic to codeine? Oh, wow. Well, then, yeah, you just ask for the medicine without the codeine, please. See, I'm always scared that something's going to happen, like where I'm going to be like, where, I don't know, like I'm going to be somewhere where I'm not going to be able to like talk or speak for myself. And that's why I always have everything in my phone. Everything's in my phone, but good thing I have Vincent, and he's under my emergency contact, him and my brother. I got 2 really good emergency contacts. I know that they'll both come through if something were to happen, but you know, like I'm always afraid that something's going to happen, and like they're going to like give me an MRI or something, and I'm going to explode in the MRI because all the metal, or you know, which I know that would be bad on them if they did that, but you know, still, you're allergic to morphine, man. It's all the good stuff you guys are allergic to. Just kidding. I don't think they really put me on morphine. I think I went down from like Dilaudid to maybe morphine down. Thank you, Southernish. Yeah, I need them to like do they're starting from the brain down, I think. They're supposed to do like EMG. It was supposed to be on Wednesday, but since Vincent's car broke down, like I mean literally the tire flew off of it and the axle broke and the ball joint broke. We have a rental right now, so he's using the rental, and I just have to make sure all my appointments are for like another month out. And so I'm like, but I'm healthy and strong, so I never get it. True crime lullabies, you just have to like just be like, I'm not that strong. And I'm not that healthy. Just be like, don't look at me like that. I'm not. I'm definitely not. But no, they're gonna start like just head and work their way down. Because I need a full exam, you know. Because I'll be 40 this year. You never know. Like the metal, I don't know. They know. They literally just put it in your body and they tell you to go ahead and go. Just see ya. have a good life, they say. I don't know how to explain it. They don't really give you like a manual because they don't know. They don't know themselves. You know what I mean? Like every person is just different. And I guess it just depends on how healthy you keep yourself and how well you take care of your body. But I need to know like how well is how well. You know what I mean? Like what can I get away with? Can I eat candy a lot? Should I not eat candy at all? You know, things like that. Things like that. But you never know. But thank you guys for talking to me after the live. Thanks for coming to the live. I appreciate it so much. I will be back on tomorrow night, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go through these Tapatalk text. Oh, I wanted to let you guys know. I'm going to do a video on it tomorrow, and I'll release it tomorrow sometime in the afternoon. But today there was a verdict in the Rachel Morin case. So let me actually go over. Where did I have it? I wanted to read the charges. Let me put it back in. I think I might have forgot it. Okay. So Victor Martinez Hernandez was the guy, is the creature that was charged with the crime, with the, the murder, the assault, R word. And I want to see what else he was charged with. He was charged with 2 other things. This isn't telling me. Okay. They deliberated for less than an hour. It just says convicted of first-degree murder, first-degree rape, first-degree sexual offense, and kidnapping. So, I was listening to the Cypher podcast. They were coming on. They went live earlier today, and they were talking about the verdict. And she was just really hoping that they were going to get this verdict, and they did. So I was really excited for all of them because they put a lot of work in this case. So Victor Martinez Hernandez, 24 years old. He was convicted today of first-degree murder, rape, first-degree sexual offense, and kidnapping of Rachel Morin, 37, who was the mother of 5 that went missing on the Ma and Pa Trail back in August of 2023. So we have a verdict. Yeah, that case is officially not over, but we're moving, but maybe the family members are able to move forward now, I hope so anyway. So, but I'll make sure I do a video. I don't know with John Paul Miller. I would be, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised either way. You know what I mean? Like people get away with stuff. It seems like I think that he had something to do with, I think a lot of things about that John Paul Miller. I never went over that case just because I left the thoughts to myself, but I just think he's not a very good guy. He's not a very good guy. Free to be me. Oh my good gosh, you woke up. Oh my good gosh. I've been in a twilight before where I'm awake, fully awake during surgery, but never to where I feel anything. Oh, bless your heart. Bless your heart. Well, thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate you. I will be back on, like I said, tomorrow at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll see you then. And there are some new documents that came out on Idaho tonight. Nothing major. It was just, they wanted to admit something into evidence, and the defense, prosecution, they both wanted to redact it and keep it gagged. So that's what the judge ordered. But I will let you know any other new like updates. I can't think right now. New updates that'll come up. I will make sure if I don't do like a live, I'll make sure I do a short video if they're just a small update. Make sure you're following me over on TikTok. If you have a TikTok at TitaniumBuilt, and then I have a Twitter account as well. If you want to follow me over there for any other updates, sometimes I'll just retweet something really quick that won't get over here to, YouTube. Sometimes I'll put a video on TikTok that I think is like funny or just something different other than, maybe true crime. And I put it over there. That way it doesn't mess up the algorithm over here. So thank you guys for being here tonight, but I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. Bye guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out.